Welcome to Dom's Whiteboard strategy session, where we break down the deals, details, creative strategies, and all the things that you want to know to become a successful investor in today's market. So welcome back to our Whiteboard strategy session. This time we're going to go over my personal favorite and highest impact strategy. It's called the Wrap strategy. And this is the quintessential strategy that I use in my business to bring the American dream back to the middle class by providing homeownership. First off, I implore you to go back and review some of our strategy sessions on subject to and seller finance deals, because of those are primarily the acquisition source that I use to buy my own deals that I end up wrapping. If you haven't watched that yet, I'd go ahead, watch those videos before, come back to this video after. It might make a lot more sense if you use that method there. So let's go back to our seller here. Let's call him Johnny again, because I used that example in the subject to video, you'll remember. Johnny's got a 3% mortgage on his house. So I use the subject to strategy to buy this house from Johnny with that 3% mortgage in place. So now I have Johnny's house is now my house. 123 Main Street is what we called it, Main Street. I have the deed to the property, so I'm the owner. That 3% mortgage is still in place on the property. So I have a buyer for this property over here. So now I own this property, and what I'd love to do is provide this as an opportunity for someone who might not be able to qualify for a traditional mortgage. And it happens for so many reasons. Maybe someone works a cash heavy job and they don't make a lot of on the books income. Maybe they've missed like a car payment or a mortgage payment in the last couple years or couple of months, and the bank isn't allowing them to get a loan on their property. Maybe their loan to value is super low, meaning that they actually don't have the cash. Let's say the bank wants them to bring 40% to the table. Maybe they can't afford that 40% to bring down. They don't have that much money to put down on the house, but they make enough money to afford the monthly payments. And right now, housing is so difficult for middle America to be able to afford, that this strategy is such a big deal for this community of non-qualifying buyers. And we could go over maybe in a separate video of some of the reasons why someone might not be able to qualify for a bank loan. But for this video, we're just gonna stick with non-bank qualified buyer. So here he is here. I bought this house here. Let's say that I bought this house for $300K. Let's say my mortgage on this house is $280,000 and I am $20,000 into it. Meaning I paid $300K for it. The mortgage balance is $280 at 3% interest, if you remember from here. And I'm $20,000 into the deal. So what I'll go ahead and do is I will talk to our buyer over here and I'll say, hey, I know that you can afford a monthly payment of X. Why don't I sell this house to you and I will create a new mortgage on the property. Let's call it a 7 or 8% mortgage, and wrap that underlying mortgage into it. So I have my mortgage in place at 3%. Let's say our buyer, and this is typical, we're usually 10 to 15% above what we bought it for is what we sell it for. We mark it up. Let's say we sell it to him for $330 and he's 10% into it. So he's into it for $33K. So I'm in it for 20, he's in it for 33. This cancels this out, and now I have made $13K on the entry of this deal. So I essentially sold the property, tapped into $13,000 of my equity up front, and now our new buyer is paying an 8% rate instead of a 3% rate. So my actual cash flow is the difference between that 3% and 8% rates. So Johnny sold his house to me for subject to. I took over his 3% mortgage. I sold it to our non-qualifying buyer for 10% down, 8% interest. And my spread, my cash flow that I make on the deal is the difference between 8 and 3%. So this solves a couple of key problems that a lot of buyers face today. The first is that they might not be able to qualify for traditional financing. Whatever reasons those may be, we will cover that in a separate video. But for now, just understand there are so many reasons that a bank might tell you no. And a lot of those reasons are pretty easy to overcome. And we have a process to go ahead and do that. We do obviously vet our people to make sure they can afford the property before selling it to them. But this provides a housing solution for them to be a homeowner and not have to go through all that rigmarole and process in depth and avoid all of that. So they get the asset, I get the cash flow between the two rates, but they have an amortizing mortgage and they're building equity in their property. And we talk about this all the time. Building equity in a property is so important for the American middle class, because right now in these times, things are so unaffordable. There are so many families that are living paycheck to paycheck. And if you're building equity in a house, you're going to eventually build a nest egg that you can use later in life because you're an owner. You can liquidate this. Let's say he owns this property, our buyer, for 30 years. He pays off that mortgage that we created. And both of these mortgages are 30-year fixed, by the way. So let's say he pays it off in 30 years. He owns it for 30 years. Now he has a free and clear asset. Instead of paying rent, he has a free and clear asset that he might even be comparable to rent payments. Let's say that property in 30 years is worth $600,000. Totally reasonable to say a property is going to double in value in 30 years, considering what we've seen over the last 5. So he now has a $600,000 nest egg versus if he was a renter, that, let's just say his payment is $2,600. We already established that I had a 3-bedroom house in Tampa that rents for $2,500. So his payment here, let's say it's $2,600, and he was able to knock his payments down over 30 years, and now he's sitting on $600,000. So it might even be his retirement money. So, like we say all the time too, our average first-time home buyer in America is 38 years old. That means if someone buys a house at 38 years old and waits 30 years to pay off their mortgage, that means that they'll be 68 by the time they pay their house off in full. That doesn't mean they won't have equity in the house, but you won't have your house paid off until you're damn near 70 years old. So if we are able to reduce this age, make homeownership possible for younger people, younger families, they can build equity in properties quicker, they might have a nest egg before they're almost 70 years old. And this is the power of this strategy. This is why I believe in it so much. This is why it's my main strategy, because my mission is to make homeownership affordable, possible, feasible again, and bring back the American dream for the middle class. And this is my strategy that I use to do just that. So if you feel as passionately as I do about that, comment below, like, subscribe. I would love for your feedback on how you're using this strategy in your own markets, in your own business, and we'll go into more and greater detail about how we actually find buyers for these deals and so much more. So stay tuned for the next one, and I'm looking forward to seeing you there.